Hi, we're going to be doing more Higurashi today. Let's get started. First, I need to go over to the game. It's a Zerk! Hi, Zerk! Welcome in! I love it. I love it. How you doing, Zerk? Hugs for you, too. Alright, let us continue where we left off, which was in the middle of a detective case. Yeah, end of chapter 1. Load it. I think we already went through the tips, I believe. Alright, let's see how long this one goes for. I guess. Well, thank you. I always appreciate it when you stop by. Or that anybody chooses to stop by. It's nice. But yeah, good luck at work. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remember even during the long camping trip we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting out the days left on my fingers. Akasaka does not want to, is not a camping person. Got it. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it the need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? Because surely he'll make it in time for his wife to give birth. That, to be fair, that does, in fact, look like a hotel room. Productive member of society as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties. It was pathetic indeed. It's okay to want to be there when your wife gives birth, guy. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Oishi had provided would be tonight. Until then, I couldn't just be lazing around. Well, I mean, you could, but... The Yonigafachi Defense Alliance was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in the strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep the law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and the brutality of the riot squads. The latter, peaceful route, stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamizawa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. Which, yeah. As part of that, the village of Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advise the nature surrounding the town. Advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years, there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to take advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they responded that it was too late to put in an application for the tour, and they were... Hi, Liv! And it was too late to put in an application for the tour, and they still were undecided as to when they'd be doing another one. Boo. Good afternoon, Liv. You didn't see me wave, but I totally waved. It was like this. Once I find my... There it is. It was like this. I see. So there's no applications for next time. Too bad. Are you a member of an environmental group? Maybe somebody from a magazine? No, just here privately. Privately? Then you're a tourist? Something like that. It's my hobby to take pictures that display how beautiful nature can be. I read in a magazine that there were some precious nature reserves here, so I was looking forward to it. I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Rip Tomitake. Was it this ad-libbed? Was this ad-libbed lie not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. Ha ha ha. Then come. The village is a little busy right now, but you're totally welcome here. Ha 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 ha. In that case, I'll graciously accept the offer. Thank you. How are you getting around? Car? If that's the case, could I ask you for your license plate number? No, there's no ulterior motive behind that. Ha ha ha. That was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up along the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I thought about using the car I'd borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. The Onigafuchi Defense Alliance was behind the incident. There was no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car. No, actually, I'm not using a car. If there's a bus or something, I'd prefer that. We do have a bus, actually. The route is going to be discontinued soon, though. You can take that. It departs from Okinomiya Station. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to it. When will you be coming? Is this your first time in Hinamizawa? If it is, you must be unsure about a lot of things. If you let me know, I can have somebody show you around. Oh no, I couldn't ask that much of you. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about it. That's just a bit of PR we do, protecting nature around the village. Judging by what I saw at the earlier checkpoint, the villagers were, at the very least, wary of outsiders. That's why, in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oishi, or side with the dam protests. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied to the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protests, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer. Is that really all right? If so, that'll really help. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come in and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around a spot I'd taken an interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they'd try to indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world was about give and take, after all. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. After that, calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okinomiya Station. We're being inconspicuous. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okinomiya, and the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the villagers into emptying out sooner. Rude. It makes sense. According to the documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale of the North Wind and the Sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. You don't live there, though. If you live there, it's kind of a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. Check your privileges. This route will be discontinued on the XX of XX. Thank you for your patronage up until this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. XX Transportation. Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted outside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they had to open up the barricade ahead of time. From here on, it was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat. Now arriving at Ukita Waterworks. Are there any passengers disembarking? I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers seemed to be getting off here meant that it must be quite a remote place. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere, completely different than the interior of the bus, assailed my body. Right now, Oishi or Modadai weren't beside me. That's right, at present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. Yeah, big city privilege. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. Okay, calm down, Akasaka. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed... I brought back the terrifying words that I had heard at the prefectural office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? Oh, well, there's an ad. I'll take a little sip. And pet the kitty. My clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city slicker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and a knapsack. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must have seemed odd. Oh good, welcome back. Akasaka is currently being like, I am totally incognito, it's fine. No, it wasn't something that was to be concerned about. Unless you want, the part in your hair to get burned, or otherwise, it's alright. I was just a normal tourist. Normal. Just normal. Normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Other than the fact you're a tourist? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me silently. They were staring right at me, as if they had seen right through my proud little outfit. Just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows to air out the bus. Blech. All that rained down were stares. Stare. None of them were saying a word. They don't trust outsiders and you're a tourist, my guy. But all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words Told me more than a million words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider. Uh-huh. No, There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. Bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. He's being intimidated by a bus. The bus knows you're sus. Five whole watch streak. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you, Liv. I always appreciate that. And even if the watch streak breaks, I still appreciate it. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. The bus knows you're sus. According to the documents, it was the village that seemed wary of outsiders. Yes! Yes, we know! Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. Keep up, Akasaka. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at this stop. It was a bus stop that they just normally passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there. There was no doubt about it that it had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at this stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous since it was my first undercover assignment. Oh, poor baby. My more seasoned colleague referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool. But that wasn't true at all. Phew. In order to calm my breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear, like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed to serve as a shelter if it rained, and it was there that I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising for the dam opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside the shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Inside that shed covered in words written in broad brushstrokes berating the police, regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze, as if half asleep. The two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noise I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. It's rude to wake people up from their naps. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid. So why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realized. This girl, to us, as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with such things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yuki had been saying that the chances it was a boy or a girl were even. But in my heart, I already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that, until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one that I thought that would be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of that was due to the circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. This girl in front of me, though, had long hair. It was almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. Don't be weird about it. She had an divine air about her. girl, with an angelic smile, with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars, woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep. But locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No, cried out. Beep! Hi, Rika. Meep? Like that character on the show with the puppets? With the orange beaker reference. Beaker reference. I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So in order to prove that I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind. Meep. 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 The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression that was cute but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. This was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with meep when she said the same. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious. Meep. Meep. We were both at a loss for words. Hi, Kaito! No, the only one lost was me. Girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. Damn it, this girl was way better in interrogating somebody than Oishi. I'm not anybody suspicious. I'm... Nipahhhh. Nipahhhh. Nipahhhhh. What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like the phrase that was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying, Nipahhhhh, probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right, this was a kid's form of communication. Having the person emulate what you did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipahhhhh. Nipahhhhh. It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing? Nipahhhhh. Nipahhhhh. Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. Making somebody happy with just a smile, that was the work of angels. Then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who would soon be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to an end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. Hi there, good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist who phoned yesterday, right? Yes. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right in. It looks like the weather isn't going to hold for much longer, so I'll show you around real quick. Huh? The weather? It changes fast around here. Like my state. There'll probably be an evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get in. Beep. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama. Praise be. Nipahhhhh. A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile, and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. It was rather a mysterious sight to behold. Are you going to work? Are you going to work, Makino? It's not exactly work per se. I was asked by the mayor to show around a young'un who came to the village for some sightseeing. Good luck at work, Zerk. A young'un who came to the village for sightseeing? The girl, Rika-chan, said that with a smile as she clung to my arm. Well, yeah. I heard that this village was surrounded by precious nature reserves, so I very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like I really want to take I look like this, I really want to take pictures. Tomitake MK2. Huh? Tomitake? Oh, Tomitake Mark II. Huh? Makino, is it okay if I come along too? I couldn't. You could come along, Rika-chama, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something. Meep. A distinctly displeased expression crept across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotion honestly in their faces was a privilege young children had. If it's not too much of a problem for you, could you bring this child along with us? When I said those hopeful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face with another Nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. No. Father. Dad. Daddy. The charm is too strong. The fatherly instinct. You will have it. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika-chama never listens, even if you say no. Come on, hop on in. Come on now, Rika-chama too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onikafuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside and dove into his seat and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was going to thoroughly enjoy this. She was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika-chama. If you're like that, our guest can't sit down. Hey, Rika-chama. Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. Probably. No. It was written in the guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them too much. Kids are kids if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. It's soft and springy. Nipa. Nipa. I am definitely going to be a terrible father. Yeah, but a loving one, which is very important. It was decided that that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born. Good. Doting parents are good. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places that I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yeah. I had a light meal at the hotel. Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Hinamizawa. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan? Sure. My name is Rika Furude. I can already do addition in the tens digit. Oh, is that true? That's amazing. Haha. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. It's time for Hinamizawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. And we're driving along. moving right along. Loving this PowerPoint slideshow. We're vibing on our pretend car. Watch, I'm gonna. Yep! I'm still taking the drink. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, he said he was the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onagafachi Defense Alliance? Probably. Showed me around the places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city, scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed. And to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that uproar about over the dam, I would want to bring Yukie here with me some other time. I wanted her to breathe this fresh air, as well as show her the rejuvenating, verdant scenery. Is something like that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Haha. Is Hinamizawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With the child that would be born by that time. Right now she's in the hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. It'd be nice if they were a cute girl like you. Sir, it seems like congratulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this. I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said it. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Well, we had already planned this trip to Hinamizawa a long time ago. My wife's family is with her, so it's alright. If you'd planned so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? If you did, you could have toured around a nice bus instead of being cramped up in here. Didn't seem like Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Well then, for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view. It was slightly before evening, and the sun was still burning brightly, but the cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. Seemed like my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika-chan was just about done. The place with the best view? Well, Rika-chan, where else could it be but the view around the shrine? Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? By Rika-chan's home, you mean... Huh? The shrine. Furude Shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some real pretty scenery. Furude Shrine? The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remembered correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. Good job! You remembered details. And the Furude was... That's right. One of the 3 families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No, more importantly than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remembered correctly, Oishi had told me. Within the grounds of the Furude Shrine, there were the offices of the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. And since the land of the Furude Shrine was private property, the police couldn't set foot in there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Oishi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. I'd been given an unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well then, let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky suddenly became overcast, like my state. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Okay, looks like the halfway point. Gonna do a little... Yep. Carrying on. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger." Or a slogan of similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there were enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There was horizontal banners, place cards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt there was the headquarters of the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home. We've arrived! I'm home! Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at the protest banners. The shrine is also the office of the anti-dam movement. For you, it probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day. Hee. Student movements against the government policies, movements that had bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling in the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. I'm not really an activist or anything. I studied without incident, and graduated without incident. I don't really agree with the violence or occupations they use to protest the government. Maybe don't say this in the van. Used to protest the government's policies. Oh? You have quite a nice opinion there. If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate that shares your view. Or enter the political world yourself and assess your beliefs in a lawful manner. Sometimes that doesn't work. That's the foundation of democracy. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. Again, your privilege is showing. For a young'un, you sure have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At the moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming that I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood this feeling very well. Thank you. I have a feeling I'm going to get through this water bottle before the stream is over. Well, there goes the cap to that. Hopefully I don't spill this. Sorry. It was a little bit hard for Rika-chan to understand, isn't it? Okay. Okay, hold on. Hi, Firehawk. Alright, how many sips is that? There's the one. Yeah. Okay. One. Oh god, you're making me do math. How could you do this to me? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Was it 1, 2, 3, 7 total? Okay. Thank you, Kaito, for doing math. Alright. And now we're about halfway through the water bottle. Sorry, it was a little bit hard for Rika-chan to understand, wasn't it? Yeah, then I would be slightly sloshed. Ah, it's a little dancey. Oh, that's cute. I like that. It's a little Kaito boogie. Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. Oh, nice. Oh, I like that one. That's cute. No matter how much I explain, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. That probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway. So then, Akasaka? How do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? Uh-huh. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. I was at the main headquarters of an organization telling them their way of doing things was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself with the respect in Makinu's gaze. It was then that I truly realized your privilege is showing. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would agree that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. Yep, the lost in the... Yep. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onigafachi Defense Alliance was being called into question. You're at their headquarters, my guy. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that at most was just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. And again, where would the people go? If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance at the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might have already been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and the minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence. I'm sorry. Hello! Let me see if I'm gonna pronounce this right. Josante? I know I've seen you around before. I'm doing well. How are you doing? Good to see you. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that an outsider should just likely poke their nose into, is it? I apologize. Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. Like, Hosante? Okay. Gotcha, good to know. Well, it is a suspenseful visual novel, and we are a detective right now, and so we're trying to figure out what's going on with this case. And it's not good so far. It's nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place, please. If word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, then that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of the dam will eventually fall apart. He followed that with a smile and said, "Please don't think much of it." Makino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension of being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step into the foot of their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, the worst case, my life could have been in danger. Screams. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood. Oh, I was a bit careless just now. I'm very sorry. No, don't worry that much about it. The sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of a lake, I can understand why you would want to fight so desperately. I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. Okay, thank you very much. Because when I do visual novel streams, it's a lot of reading. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits and seemed to believe I completely sympathized with his point of view. Now, let's leave the talk at all that for now. There's a place around here, it's a really great view. Let's go, Akasaka. Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up to the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. Yeah, it's not unusual for me to go through an entire water bottle when I do these. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incidentally like the dam project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers. Normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of the shed, what looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigafuchi Defense Alliance headquarters written in bold brush strokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. Yeah, usually drinking water is a good thing, but honestly, as long as people stay hydrated, it doesn't always have to be water. Because I know some people don't like the taste of water. If you asked what I had been imagining, this was a bit embarrassing, but I thought it would have been something much more dramatic. Akasaka, please! With barbed wired fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. Because, wow, it's a simple backwater town hall! didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence. Oh, if it isn't it Rika-chama? It's time for little kids to head on home. This is my home. The old folks guffawed since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika Furuta girl was loved by everybody. Makino-san, who's that? The tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking that he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance, none other than Kiichiro Kimiyoshi himself. Welcome to Hinamizawa. What do you think? It's a quiet and relaxing place, isn't it? Yeah. I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity. Even though you're one of those young'uns, you're quite the gentleman. Ichiro, I want to show Akasaka a cool place. Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for a bit too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name. Well, it was a little strange, but none of the other villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furuta household, one of the 3 families. She was probably different than an average villager. Akasaka, over here! Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over. And waiting for me was a magnificent view. This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I was able to put into words. It was just as breathtaking, spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke. This is my favorite spot. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of a lake. Excuse me. I said that quietly so Rika-chan could hear it. So that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did. For those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. Dam project will definitely go away. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish. Akasaka, do you think the village will be submerged? It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but I couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interest of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really that much of a humanist, but... How sentimental of me. I'm not really a humanist, but wow, maybe it's a bad idea to submerge an entire village. It won't be submerged, because the dam project will soon go away. The words weren't just hope and dreams, but they were seasoned with a hint of resolve. As if she was talking about an unchanging unchangingly predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east. It'll be gone soon? Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around. Yes, it'll be gone. What makes you say that? Well, you see. She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Akasaka does, the dam project will end this year. It's already been decided. That was a lie. If something like that had already been decided, then the Onigafiji Defense Alliance would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was about the checkpoint or the bus stop. Villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared the victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl said they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange. Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you so confident, could you tell me? Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say. Because? Because? She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she had trouble whether or not it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it. It's already been decided, huh? Really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it if it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission, that I'd forgotten about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced in the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onigafiji Defense Alliance kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that Did Kimiyoshi already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me? Akasaka? The girl called out my name suddenly. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? I was suddenly surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I'd never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change of her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will woefully regret it. Uh-huh. Laurel had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeves since, hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She'd been holding on my sleeve this entire time. But somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I'd never met before. That girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart, because your wife is about to give birth. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought, that would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see, so I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. Couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words from Rika-chan's mouth. Couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her, using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road, and the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back into the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief, childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying it because I hate you. You don't need to tell somebody who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika-chan. Hmm? As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting of a child her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That oculate idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help! Thinking that I'd yelled that, I turned where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her. Akasaka is such a coward. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that, and calling me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl approached me with a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance, and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. It was just a while before I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now, extending a hand to that ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan but wasn't required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. Meep! The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterward, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. It was as though she was being possessed by something. She had lost her memories of what happened. You're joking, right? Rika-chan? Meep? I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning herself. Hey, mister! Rika-chama too! Tea's ready! Here's some snacks too, so please come and have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. This was a familiar smile, one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished. Come on, Rika-chama. Wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off into the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat a share of manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you looked at it, this was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, that was definitely Rika-chan's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan and washed at the wash station. Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she'd probably learned at school. Me? Did I do something wrong? Huh? By wrong, you mean how I'm washing my hands? I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, that's more than enough. But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Uh-huh. Rika-chan, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. I was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika-chan, what is the meaning of what just happened now? Just now you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like would ever believe something as oculate as that could happen. Like would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl who could say those creepy things. Rika-chan, you definitely said that. Meep. Her expression told me that. Despite me saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb, she actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan I let a look of confusion creep across my face. Two of us both looked like we had no idea what was going on. It must have been certainly a humorous sight to behold. How do wash hands? While partaking in the tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Defense Alliance that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately about how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed that I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened, but with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark, and the mayor said that they had prepared dinner. I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel room and file my regular report with the section chief. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send somebody to pick you up right away. I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow. Yes, please do. It seems like Rika-chan has taken a pretty big liking to you. Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I'll finish after 5th period, so if you could come around 3 o'clock, that would make me happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't any trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the three families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamazawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, and having this girl, who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter, grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onagafachi Defense Alliance, and had the mayor as well as other important members of the alliance welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back into the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensible strange incident continued to torment me. End of chapter? Yeah, end of chapter. Unless it keeps going. Oh, new tips. Going. Alrighty then. Oh, look, it's the manju. Okay, view new tips. Going smoothly. The sound of the car grew closer and followed by the sound of braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of the footsteps approached the door. Thump, 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 thump. It was the passcode. I'm back. Open the door already. Ah, you must be tired. I'm opening it now. After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had 7 Smart written on them, with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were spread out over a sheet on the floor. I brought some cup noodles, so go boil some water. What's the kid doing? He's been sleeping the entire time. Thank God he's not causing any trouble. He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself. Don't let him crap his pants. It'd suck if he started smelling like an outhouse in here. Yeah, I know. Check the gag every now and then. We don't want it to get loose, so keep it tight. But not so tight that he stops breathing. I said I know. Huh? Did I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove? We're out. You never asked, you idiot. Seriously, come on, work, damn it. He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh, and with a backwards glance at the sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor. Boy, you doing okay? Of course, the man didn't assume was able to hear his question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged and his eyes and ears were thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly. His cheeks were sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt. He seemed to be doing okay. At least, you're not gonna die. If your grandpa wanted to play tough, we might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we don't have to. If the main family says so, though. Tough luck. I can't even imagine what kind of cruel things they'll have us do to you. That family says says one scratch on him, though it seems to be going well for the time being. The minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. The Hinamazawa Dam is indefinitely postponed. I wonder when they're letting the boy go. I just want to be done with this already. The main family seems to be gauging that time, and I don't know when it'll be, but probably soon. Isn't that great, kid? You'll be let go real soon. So yeah, they did kidnap him. The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape his harsh reality. More importantly, what are we going to do about the gas? You can't eat the cup noodles raw. If we're out of gas, say something, jeez. So they did do it, for that reason. Why I like rainy days. The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all for the entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rainy cloud or two. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew that much. But even then, there was occasionally a day when I was hoping that it would be wrong, as it stared up into the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky, undisturbed by a single cloud, except for the clouds that are in the background. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed the summer evenings, whether or not the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, you would understand a bit more about it. Would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. Again, who is talking? Who is this narrator? But when you called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you instead was an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. Granted, I'd probably still eat that. This was just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but I would still be delighted. The fact that these pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight was repeated 100 times and 100 times you had to eat curry rice. Oh, I think I do know who's talking. Yet just for this one night, that was changed into an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. There's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. Yeah, I think I do know who's talking. It's been decided that this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. Weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obligated to do so. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? That's something that nobody else can say for sure, but because of the thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue on living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung up upside-down weather charms on my sunlit, eavesdrops. I don't think I've ever heard that word before. In the end, I spent my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it didn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. That's why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. So I'm pretty sure, depending on when the plot twist is revealed, I'm pretty sure that's Rika narrating. And depending on when we get there, you'll see why. Barley and black tea, a milestone. Your blood pressure has improved. Hi, Irie. You probably still need to go jump in that lake. For you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather impressed. At this rate, you'll be kicking after a couple hundred more years, Oryu-san. You'll still be kicking, okay. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff in the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon. You're a very good physician, Dr. Irie. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll just be in the way of you young folk. Ho 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 ho. The old lady, Oryu, laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then, turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice. Is Shimiko or Takeo-san there? Bring some tea for Dr. Irie. Sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Shimiko has already left for the day. You need something? Mion, make some barley tea for Dr. Irie. Okay, got it. Did you want some too, Granny? Or would black tea be better? Want lots of milk and sugar? I'll measure it out myself so you don't have to put any in. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea. Okay. Girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response, to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway. Pour the doctor's tea in cups for the guests. And make sure you bring the coasters, too. Also, make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay? Yeah. You're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady just let a wry smile across her face as she chided the girl. Geez, that girl just won't learn. Nothing I ever scold her about sticks. Now, Ryu, you don't have to say that. Mion-chan is doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young. Her mother was the same way. Couldn't teach her anything. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Ahaha. So her mother's mother must be exactly the same, no? The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment in the wrong way. Dr. Irie, I'm sorry, but could you open the doors for me? It seems like there's a nice cool breeze outside. Cold chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze burst through the stale air that had built up in the room. It's gotten fairly hot during the day, but the evenings still rather cold, aren't they? Almost downright chilly last night. Yeah, those types of mornings and evenings are another one of Hinamizawa's fine points. Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi. I'm going to try to live to 100. Till the business with the dam is proper finished, I ain't kicking the bucket just yet. To get to the government to withdraw a decision they'd already made a fairly difficult thing to do. The way this country does things is like turning a millstone. A heavy one at that. Millstone? Don't you know? A millstone. Very quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about. For he knew that it was Oryu didn't like having her stories interrupted. The millstone sea can grind anything to a pulp. It's rather impressive. But you see, it doesn't turn that easy because it's a rather heavy millstone. People have to work in unison to even get it to budge. That's the type of millstone. Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oryu was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt. That's why when I get going, it's not that easy to stop. It takes the most effort to move it right before it starts turning. Everybody hates it, so everybody keeps pushing it along without rest. You're talking about friction, right? I get what you're saying. So in other words, if there's some sort of mistake and the millstone suddenly stops turning, getting it to turn again takes a great deal of power, more or less. Certainly to get a project that's been suspended going again takes quite a lot of work. It's a millstone that isn't easily stopped. But once it's stopped, it'll never turn again. It's that kind of millstone. It'd be nice if there was some way to get that millstone to stop, wouldn't it? Irie responded with that. Mion and the old lady sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across the Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. I don't think that is supposed to be there. The atmosphere surrounding Irie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted, thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both their faces was the result of some mistake of his. He could only grow afraid. If it hadn't been all that long since he had been enveloped by silence, however unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Irie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady, not knowing exactly what they were laughing at. Their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple, unchanging chorus. Alright, I'm gonna get up for a minute, and then we'll start the next chapter. But we'll save first. So we'll BRB1. Okay, let's see how far we can get into chapter 3. I'm guessing I'll probably stop at whatever halfway point it is, but we'll see. Continue. The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m. Damn it. I slept past the time I was supposed to report in. I picked up the receiver. Akasaka-sama, you have a call from the outside line. Shall I connect you? It's from a coworker named Kano-sama. I knew it. I didn't call in, so they had phoned me. Sorry, please put them through. Understood. I'll connect you, so please hang up the receiver for the time being. After I had put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again. Yes, hello. This is Akasaka. Akasaka-kun? This is Kano. Good work out there. You didn't call in for your regular report, so we called instead. What's your situation? Leaving the lecture for later, my senior coworker got straight to the point. Today I went to the village proper. Under the guise of a tourist, I managed to establish contact with the mayor and several other core members of the Defense Alliance. I wasn't able to ask them anything, but I left a good impression and was able to make a bridge for my investigation from tomorrow onwards. I see. It looks like things are going smoothly. Akasaka-kun, you seem rather naive sometimes, but it might have worked out in your favor. You made some good progress for now? I don't have the expertise to make a comparison, so I don't know if that's good or not. I think things went well for today, though. Did you find out anything from the prefectural or local offices? Does it look as though the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance is unrelated to this incident? I still don't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason, I hesitated. I'm still investigating, so I don't know what to say yet. I see. Could you let us know as soon as possible? I think you understand, but after tonight it'll be a full 4 days since the kidnapping happened. They didn't set a time limit, but it's obvious that time is not on our side. I think you know that. Yeah, I know. I'll investigate a little quicker while still being careful about it. Okay, be sure to look after yourself. You're dealing with a violent organization here. It might be dangerous to let your guard down. If you feel that you're in any danger, contact me immediately. In that case, I can get the local public safety office to prepare to help you. Thank you. I'll do my best. Anything else to report? I reported several bits of supplementary information. At the very end, I decided to ask, how's the investigation going on your end? Everybody's doing their best here, but we're not making much progress. After all, the number of organizations we're investigating is vast. Find out the one you're investigating is in the clear, and we'll have you return to Tokyo to assist some other officers. The chief's saying to dig up what you can on Onigafuchi, but I don't think a residential anti-dam protest group has any relation to the incident at hand. Sending somebody out just to investigate a single group makes me cringe, really. At this point, he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop taking time to enjoy my trip and finish up and get back quick. I'll try and resolve this as soon as I can. Thanks, I'm counting on you. Well then, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Okay, that's all I have. As we ended our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Oishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and place to meet with the informant tonight. I thought about getting angry with Oishi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily report. Come to think of it, though, Oishi didn't really say anything other than that he was going to call tonight. Waiting for the phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come was in itself rather difficult. Anxieties over the phone. Just when I thought that, the phone rang. I picked up the receiver in a hurry. Hello? Well, isn't this a surprise? Akasaka-san, you're pretty quick to answer the phone. Are you a regular user of dating chat lines or something? I would never try something seedy like that. I'm married! The way you overreacted is rather interesting. Ha ha ha. Want to go to a place where you can have a little bit of lewd fun? I'll pass, so could you please get to the point, Oishi-san? Really? Too bad. We'll leave that for next time, then. Well, I'll get to the point. Many of the executives in the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okonomiya, there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why meeting in the Shishibone Market District far from Okonomiya was a matter of course. Akasaka-san over here. Did you get a little lost? Coming to the north entrance might have been a bit of a detour, but it was easier to give directions from there. No, I'm sorry for being late. Did you eat dinner already? Yeah, I already did. Well then, shall we go to a place where we can get a drink? Do you prefer Western alcohol? Or maybe a sake? Would you prefer a place with or without women? Don't worry about it. I don't drink while I'm on the job. Hearing that, the man that Oishi had brought along bent backwards as he guffawed, clapping Oishi on the shoulder. See? Isn't he just adorable? In exchange, can you give him a bit extra? That money all came from this guy's wallet, you know. The man that Oishi had brought seemed to be almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. The informant grinned deviously. Hey boy, how much did you give this guy? It looks like there's quite a bit skimmed off the top, you know. Oishi's handling fee was included, as I took that into account. It seemed that the informant had expected an extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realized that I was an entirely different type of a person than he was. But rather than putting a distance between us, it seemed it piqued his interest. I said it, didn't I? He's the serious type. But do you see, Akasaka-san? People in this line of work of ours really can use their wealth of experience to their advantage. I'm wondering exactly how the experience of drinking in a bar with women would work to my advantage. Ha 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 ha. The informant became unable to contain herself, clutched in his stomach as he guffawed heedless of the people watching him. Oh, laddie. Akasaka-san, you really can judge people. That's what the education does for you. Oishi-san, you've been drinking somewhere, haven't you? Are you drunk? What's wrong with drinking when I'm off duty? Even if you're working, I'm not. Hee 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 hee. Oishi, who was the sort that fool around to begin with, was in such a good mood that I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Completely different than me, who had come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Oishi-san, after taking so much money, you were supposed to get me information that was worth at least as much. I thought this, but then I realized I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Oishi was. There was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. Oishi and the informant, it was no doubt a fake name, but introduced himself as Sato, led the way deeper into the back of the streets of the market district. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street and you were in a desolate alleyway. In an desolate alleyway. Oh, it probably would have been nice if they had a little bit more time to edit. But I get it. After a certain point, when you've stared at sentences forever, you don't see the mistakes anymore. I don't blame you, manga gamer. You're doing your best. I actually started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open, or if it was even a store at all. Don't worry. This isn't a dubious place. Sus. Those words coming from Oishi's mouth had absolutely no credibility. Beyond the door was thankfully a typical Mahang parlor. I was relieved that this wasn't the sort of suspicious place that I had to be on my guard about. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Oishi-san, it's been a while. Want to join in? There'll be a free spot soon. No, I'm here with a group today, so it's fine. Sorry to keep you waiting. Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seemed like a middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us. You're late, Kurado. I was just thinking of going home. Oishi made an excuse as to why it'd taken so long. Eventually, realizing that I was a new face, the other man grew interested. That's Akasaka-san. He's a rookie who came all the way from Tokyo on assignment. They have high hopes for him. Boy, can you play Mahjong? I'm gonna just call it Mahjong. Well, I played a bit when I was still a student. Sato and the old man cackled in unison. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious. I thought you'd be a bit tired from your assignment leaving you on edge all the time, so I thought I'd give you a night to cleanse your spirit. And your wallet. I knew asking this now might be stupid, but we're betting money on this, aren't we? Well, you see, just a little. It's just a little for funsies. But it doesn't matter who loses, because after this, we're using that money to go play at a very nice place. Go and play? At what kind of place would you be doing that? Without reservation, the three of them started suggesting places like cabaret, high-class clubs, and even brothels. He's married! At the very least, they were the types of places where you could go with money that was just for funsies. Oishi-san took all my money the other day and I have work to do, so I can't stay for long. Then all you have to do is win. If you win, then you can use that money to pay for this table and you can talk to Kurado about work or whatever. No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing mahjong for free. I would have to fasten my resolve a bit. It was going to be the understatement. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work. I understand. Then I'll play with you guys just for a bit. If I win, you guys don't get to have any of the money or go to any of those dirty places, and we talk about work right away. Yeah, ha ha ha. Yeah, bring it on. If I win, we're headed straight to the Blue Mermaid on Flower Road. Oh, that place where the girls dress up in gym clothes and maid uniforms? This old leech here likes that place too. Lech, rather. Leech, lech, both are bad. Well, not bad, but both are not good associations. Of course, we're going to hop between all the places where they keep the girls coming. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Mahaha, I'm assuming there are noodles. What about you, Sato-san? I'd prefer a place where we can drink quietly. Like a nice quiet place where you can play footsie with a bunny girl. What are they planning on doing? Mahaha. Last time we went drinking, you pulled the tail right off that bunny girl, didn't you? Didn't you end up having to pay for that? The owner ended up charging what he called a tailoring fee. Ha. Good pun. What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. I had taken all the money I brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't much left of that either. If I kept hanging around him like this, though, his goading my wallet would disappear into the night. Through his goading, my wallet would disappear into that. But I had to somehow win and return to the conversation to my job. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry, Yukie. Nahaha. Well then, I'll just call Richi here. Well then, old man and Sato-san probably wouldn't fall for this silly Richi. I wondered if Akasaka-kun will spit out what I need. At any rate, Kurado's hand was probably holding something like that, huh? In any case, this ought to go there. Aha! This little man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? Seems like Akasaka-kun has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Richi. I know nothing about mahjong, but we're gonna pretend like we do. But that will be his downfall. What's wrong, boy? Would you hurry up and discard? If you're not sure, anything that Kurado's already thrown away should be safe, no? Oh, Akasaka's doom's really fetting over this one. It was glaringly obvious that he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it would move him further from completing his hand. They're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on, hurry up and throw out that kicker. He gave me the winning tile, he'd be headed to established where I... Oof. If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be headed to an establishment where I could do all sorts of licking and sucking. On ramen, probably. If he gives this old man the winning tile, we'll be headed straight to the place with maids and bloomers. This will go through, right? He looked up hesitantly and threw out that tile. It was, too bad. Hey, no, that's a dangerous tile, you know? Kurado, does this go through? Yeah, it will. Seemed this time you were lucky. But as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. But after all that, Akasaka-kun managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad titles, and somehow the round managed to end up without anybody completing a hand. Tenpai. Tenpai. No ten. Sato-san had keenly anticipated that two players were in Richi and had decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Now let's see if the kind of hand did Akasaka-kun have. When the round ends, nobody winning the Mahjong. Anybody in Tenpei has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpei, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand, even if they weren't in Tenpei, and start a commotion about how this tile or that tile came. They would be in Tenpei. But he didn't. Being stingy? How'd you do, boy? Come on and show me. Sato-san reached over to flip the hand that Akasaka-kun was casually placing face down. What the hell is this? Hi, Nero! Oh, I love your little megaphone emote. That's amazing. How are you doing? He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka-kun totally bad at this after all? Right, then the old man compared to these tiles from Akasaka-kun's hand to the discarded pool, with a puzzled expression crossing his face. Boy, you were in Tenpei right around here, weren't you? Why'd you break your hand? The higher Manzu title suddenly got more valuable, so he suppressed them. Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying hello. I'm doing alright. We're in the middle of Chapter 3, and so we've made some good progress so far. I hope if you're working, it's going well. Even though with Oishi-san's Richi, the chance they were safe tiles had increased. It would have been no trouble if he had read the discards, but he went out of his way to keep them out of play. Oh? So Kurado's Tenpei was no good from the start, in other words. If it wasn't such a high-level trap, I would have thought you were waiting for me to throw out the winning tile. But the more concerning thing is that you were in Tenpei and didn't say anything. When did you realize I was in Tenpei? Around here. You threw out 4 tiles in a row immediately. At first I thought you were just discarding redundant tiles, but I noticed you were glancing over at me and realized what you were waiting for something. Akasaka-kun, you... Akasaka-san, when did you first start playing Mahjong? I never did, except in high school and university. Now let's continue. Since Sato-san wasn't in Tenpei around at the time the round ended without a winner, so I'm next, right? The next dealer. Seemed like Akasaka-kun was really aware of how this game flows. We thought we were just gonna eat him alive, but it looks like this isn't gonna be so easy. Dice games are serious business. Oishi-san, looks like you're going for the bamboo tiles. Should I put some in play? This boy. Kurado, don't back down. As long as I get 3 more good tiles. Sato-san, think you can do it? Damn it. I'll just force you to go for a cheap Tanyo. Gee. A straight? Well, sorry, I'm gonna pawn that tile. Whoa, now. Going to call 3 of a kind after he just declared a straight? Trying to override and interfere? Boy, you're getting pretty used to this. Oh no. I couldn't even compare to guys who have been playing since before I was even born. That's the game. Run! Triplets, 2 red Dora, and 3 more Dora. I'm the dealer, so this will cost you quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah, Akasaka-san, nice job. Now we'll have to get serious, won't we? Well, can you get serious about handing over your points? I'm tired, so let's just end this quickly. Akasaka-kun? This is somehow unreal. Nah. Before I could realize it, there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka-kun's feet. How blasé. 2, 5, and 8. Manzas are laughing at you. Damn it. Boy, you. Kurado, finish it. You have to end this boy's turn as dealer. I hate to admit it, but there seems like the best option. There it is. Run. Simple straights. One Dora. Sorry, head bump. Run. Straight. A head bump. You damn brat. Brat? So you play that sloppily against a brat? Guess that means you're worse than a brat yourself. So interesting, the way you guys call people things like brat and boy. Hee hee hee. Akasaka-kun? That is you, isn't it? Feels like you're a totally different person. You thought that I, being a sucker, would let you drink some good booze tonight. Seems that you were a little off the mark. Ron. Triple straight. Red Dora. Another Dora. Wow. He's actually did it. That's why I'm saying you guys are slacking. No matter how you look at it, you have to be able to read such an obvious three-way weight. Akasaka-kun chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. That pose was so fitting, it was almost scary. Hey, Kurado. This isn't what we discussed. Who the hell said he was a naive sucker ripe for the picking? Who could it be? Oishi-san, this is bad. If it keeps going like this, we're seriously going to lose. Akasaka-kun, for you to make me get serious. Looks like you really want to be milked dry. Pawn. Pawn. That sounds nice. One more time. Pawn. Akasaka-kun was almost singing at this point. Tiles he had opened were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you really going for the flush? Pawn. Boy, are you right in the head? You've opened 4 sets. You only have 1 tile left, you know? That's right. Did you know? Waiting on a single tile is the hardest thing to read. Are you an idiot? With that much on your hand revealed, you don't think we'd give you a tile you need, do you? I know what you're doing, Akasaka-san. That's not a flush or a half flush, is it? The fact that you called pawn 4 times means you're already in position for a all-triple hand. Right now, you're far away in the lead. You're trying to show a flush and goad us into giving you triplets, aren't you? That's what you think. Want to try throwing out some pins? Then left 5 tiles in your hand, Oishi-san? They're pin tiles you're reluctant to throw away, aren't they? Why don't you try discarding them in order from the left? You must be joking. Is he a mahjong god? If not, he'd be the main character in a manga or something. Hikaru no Go! At that moment, the old man sent a sign under the table. The message was simple and clear. Stop this man! Kurado, do it. Crush him. I don't like to cheat against kids like this. Idiot. After being disrespected like this, we can't pull back now. Well, I'm not responsible for what happens, you know. Go ahead. Here we go, boy. Riichi. We'll go open. I'm waiting for a 1, 4, or 7 of pins. Most likely, the tile that Akasaka-kun was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka-kun was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the well, I switched up the tile that Akasaka-kun would draw. The tile that I put in the 1 pin. The one of the tiles the old man was waiting on. Akasaka-kun discarded it a little while ago, so there was no threat of it being one he needed. Come on, it's your turn, boy. I knew he was troubled, but that the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course he couldn't discard it, boy. You must be aware, but if you discard it into open Riichi, it's worth the limit, you know? You don't have to tell me that. The tile that came from Akasaka-kun's hand was an honor tile. I have no idea what's going on, but this is very intense. Hint on something. There's only 1 north wind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough wait, weren't you? But with this, Akasaka-kun's fate was decided. Heh, brat. You're lucky you're safe. But your hand is only a single tile. You think you'll be able to run away with the rest of this round? Heh. So it's going to be like that. Akasaka-kun glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had a pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating? Wow, amazing. Let's stop this. Akasaka-kun is a step or two ahead of us. Fool, you think we can stop after we'd come this far? Next, make him draw it. Next tile Akasaka-kun was draw was the 7th pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hands. An unavailable full payout! When I drew my tile, I sneakily stopped Akasaka-san's. Achoo! Crash. What? Akasaka-kun suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him. Hey, what are you doing? Sorry, I accidentally knocked over the wall when I sneezed. There's a penalty for that, right? I'm the dealer, so 4,000 to everybody? Or is the penalty my point sticks? Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Hi, Ghost! How are you? I'm glad you could make it! Good to see you! How are you? You totally didn't see me wave, but I totally waved. I still do that, even though chat can't see me. I'm just like, hi, chat! Akasaka-kun, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, took a drastic measure of knocking over his own wall by sneezing. You're good, boy. I'm doing okay. It's been pretty chill today. Very cozy. To get away from a full payout like that. Hahaha. Aisha-san, could you not bother putting me in such an obvious trap? If we were at Baba, this would have been the point where I flipped the table. Oh, no, sorry, I underestimated you. For some reason, you're really good, aren't you? Answer me honestly, you got a lot of experience when you were younger, didn't you? I played quite a bit around Waseda. Waseda and Takadono Baba. The place where I was accustomed to going at pretty high rates, and they chewed me out. I made the woman who would become my wife pretty angry, so I washed my hands of all of it. Raise the stakes too high? How much were you playing at that time? Depending on who I was playing with, but it was more expensive when I played in Kabukicho. Yeah. The largest stakes I played were about 20 times the standard rate. Oh, he could have had a gambling problem. 20 times? What kind of stakes were those? Did you have Yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players? What's this? Corrado, you buffoon. Where did you pull this professional from? I give up. Jeez. Boy, it's your win. I surrender. Thank you very much. It was an honor. Yahaha. Oh my. Akasaka-san, your personality really changes when you play. Why do you even have a day job? You'd have no problem living as a freelancer. To be a pro mahjong player, you need both talent and luck. I didn't have anything like that supporting me. Luck is luck. Somebody of your skill, I think you'd be able to make it pretty far. Normal luck doesn't cut it. Calling a con and 1 time out of 3, you can aim to win on the extra draw of the 4 Dora. That kind of luck. Akasaka-kun, if you can judge something like that, you're already bordering on supernatural. No, there's plenty of people who can do that without cheating or superpowers. There's a person I met in Shinjuku who would get Doras every time you blinked. He was as strong as a demon. There was a pro I played with in Yokohama who would draw a tile he needed immediately after calling Ricci, like it was an everyday thing. This is totally a sports manga. I don't have that kind of luck. What types of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance. I feel like that's a reference I'm not getting. Well then, it's alright if I'm declared the overall winner then? Yeah, we totally lost. I lost. It's been a while since I lost this big. Still, when you're playing, boy, you were pretty into it. It's kind of scary. I hear that a lot. I don't mean to change gears like that, though. Did I really look scary? Yep. The three of us nodded empathetically in agreement. So, that was Akasaka-kun's Mahjong prodigy. Before he would go home for the assignment, maybe I could have him play at a high-stakes table in my place. But it's not good to get greedy. Well then, nothing for it. It was a promise. Break up our little late-night study group right now. Sorry about this, old man. That's it for tonight. Nothing you can do. I'm going home to sleep. Body won't last like this. Problems at work? He's the foreman of the primary construction site at the Hinamazawa Dam. He's butting heads with the residents every day. It's rough business. Around next year, I might be in charge of the second site as well. I heard that Kurado-san was pissing blood. You won't hold out much longer. Oof, yeah, that's not healthy. You'll be alright, old man. Your skull is thicker than it looks. I'm not exactly a saint, you know. There are times that just make my blood boil. I especially can't stand dealing with the bratty daughter of the Sonozakis. Oh, Mion, what are you doing? And or Shion, what are you doing? Yeah, they might not realize there are two of them. I think one of these days I'm going to rearrange your face. She'll rearrange your face, whichever one you're dealing with. Now. At least the pay is good, right? Heard the wages were pretty exorbitant. Of course they are. If the pay was cheap, nobody would hang around that god-awful job. Hey, Kurado, exactly what are the police going to do when are they going to tell the villagers to shove off? There'll be a notice of eviction from the government, right? Maybe. I wonder what'll happen. The old man who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinamazawa Dam spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, and then left quietly. Well then, let's go. I'll leave the rest to Sato-san. Oishi-san, you're going home? If I'm here, I'll just be in your way, won't I? The one who bought Sato-san's services was you. I didn't pay for my share. Oishi-san was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Oishi's generation. From that part of him, I didn't comprehend. Then boy. No, I can't call Mr. Mahjong here boy no more. Is Akasaka-kun alright with you? Yeah. Then Akasaka-kun. Shall we go? Well then, Akasaka-san. Later. If you're having any trouble, you can count on me at any time. I don't want to have any more money to pay you, you know that? You can just give back a little of what I lost tonight. Ahaha. I seemingly still not have had his pillow playing around, but without overstaying his welcome disappeared into the night. Alright, let's finish this chapter. The informant named Sato-san had me get into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left turns. Checking if we were being followed? Yeah, you know a lot about this. Checking to see if you were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not. I didn't hear anything from the boss as to who you are, Akasaka-kun. Related to the police? If you're familiar with checking being tailed, the only other possibility I can think of is that you're something like a private detective. If it's not something I have to say, I'd like to refuse to answer that question. My. Ever since we played Mahjong, you seem a lot more mature. I wonder where the hesitant person went from when we first met. I smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little bit grateful for being made to play mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san confirmed that there was no cars following us and slipped out into the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the lights outside. The only thing I was able to hear were the hums of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of the insects and frogs. I heard from the boss that you want to hear a bit about Hinamazawa Village, yeah? Like about the old houses known as the three families who control the place, or right now it's pretty much the Sonozaki family running things? If you know that much already, I'll cut out the introductions. Then, if you would, can you confirm or deny if the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance is involved with the kidnapping of the Minister Inugai's grandson? Sato-san checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anybody behind us before speaking. Last night, the Sonozaki main household held a family council. Did you hear about it from the boss? No. If it was a normal meeting, then it would just be all the relatives coming together over a nice cup of tea or something. But a family council held by the main house isn't quite so relaxed. A family council held by the Sonozaki's main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamazawa Village. They wouldn't be talking about private family matters. It would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project. Among other things, everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. At the head of the meeting was Oryu Sonozaki, more or less called Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision-maker of the clan, was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seemed that she had lately grown weak, and on the days when she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred while she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of the dignified Japanese-style room, still in a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face, that was Oryu Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was to merely sit beside Oryu Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryu. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who might look at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki leader. And also, on the other side of her sat several other important members of the three remaining families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was, of course, the mayor of Hinamazawa Village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. And then lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite of him sat the other of the three families, the Furude family. The Furude family was only comprised of one family of a Shinto priest, so the only ones sitting there were said priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and seemed that Oryu was no exception. What the stress from attending the family council was said to be enough to shorten the lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryu's futon like it was a kotatsu. All this was the three families. And all around that room, lined up row upon row, were the relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were the direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position directly on tatami mats. With Emperor Sonozaki enshrined at her center, it was almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki family were overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family had so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. It's like 3 handful, half a room. The number of members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa. What was talked about at that meeting? Sato-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak. Wasn't our monetary gift of appreciation to the media a little large? Breaking a long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. The Onagafachi Defense Alliance wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the Hinamizawa Dam project with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but the conflict had dragged on, and the amount was steadily declining. This is an era where you can get what you want just by throwing rocks. It's very important you don't underestimate the power of the media, and we want to borrow some of that down the road. The expressions of the people related to the Zonozaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested that they should borrow that power was the family head, Oryu Sonozaki. The battle wasn't just about a force of arms. In the civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oryu suggested that creating a strategy incorporating the mass media. Oryu's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site were meant to delay progress on the dam by even a day, and then the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had were abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Zonozaki family, no, the one who had sat at the pinnacle of Hinamizawa's three families, Oryu, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable, and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media. What do you think, Oryu-san? The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonozaki family herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oryu, with a hard-to-define expression on her face, as she had severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening or didn't even have the intention of listening at all. Last year, we went through a lot of trouble getting people to wrap their heads around the price hike in the bulletins we were putting out. We convinced them it was just the one time, that we wouldn't do it if we had another one this year. Right, Furude-san? The mayor looked at the priest and his wife from the Furude family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response. But his wife gave an answer without a second thought. That's right. The cost of the bulletins are a particularly harsh burden for the poorer families. Everybody is dealing with it for the sake of the village, but it's best we don't increase the prices anymore. Bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolves, but you couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. The bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but it was something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it became something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. Originally, purchases were supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa it had silently become the opposite. In the neighboring towns, as well as it seemed that many of the businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife to not say anything unnecessary, but it was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. "You are not going to silence her, mother!" Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. Priest's wife had always held power in their relationship. That was because she was the one who carried the Furude bloodline. Yeah, I'm sorry, head priest. I think you're just an afterthought. The priest merely married into the... Yeah, no, you are an afterthought. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the three... Oh. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up on the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he still had not gained any favor. Casting a backwards glance at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by a look from Odio, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother, where something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple questions with a nod from Odio, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words. There will be no freezing on the price increase with bulletin. Kimiyoshi made a face like he'd just bit into something unpleasant, but his expression quickly disappeared, like it had never happened at all. Mion-chan, I think you already know this, but the cost of the bulletin is by no means easily affordable. It's a burden carried by everybody in Hinamizawa. If we make people carry too much of that burden, it's possible we'll collapse from the inside. And who on the inside would start that collapse? Who? I didn't mean it like that. I'm asking who would be the first to buckle. Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childishness remaining in her, a word struck Kimiyoshi's throat, and he was stuck into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained from making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oryu. That's why when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. The look in her eyes was different. Like Oryu, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody who looked upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oryu, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise for even a minute. That's why nobody thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid. Kimiyoshi-san, nobody will lose their resolve over something like a price hike to the bulletin. Kimiyoshi, while grumbling a bit, made a gesture as to say he had no objection. The expenses related to the mass media will continue. If those expenses become too much, we'll have no choice but to continue the price hikes. Mion had rendered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads and silently listening to her words. In the name of Mion Sonozaki, as acting head of the Sonozaki family, I hereby declare that this shall be effective immediately. There shall be no objections, and opposition shall be removed by force. The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was the judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell. Well, that's rather old-fashioned family council, isn't it? A young guy like you would probably find it hard to believe. In an antiquated place like this, these types of things have firm roots. It was exactly as Oishi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished, and now the Sonozakis were running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic. Was that the end of the meeting? No, there's more. I'll continue. All right, we're continuing. Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. With all that, there was a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she meant for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of the gang that her father was the leader of. That organization had the entire area of Shishibone City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, there was talk about the criminal underworld, so it's not like just anybody would know. But showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve disputes like in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, to Oryu, was her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the Onagafachi Defense Alliance. Okay. And so, that man, from his position as next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged looks with her father. Was it okay for her to tell everyone? Was it okay for her to tell what she'd just heard directly to Oryu? Looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded his response. Mion also nodded, and slid up to Oryu and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message separately, separated herself from Oryu and fixed her posture, waiting for Oryu to signal her response. It wasn't often that Oryu showed any emotion. That's why, when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of unease crept over everybody in the room. That's quite a conundrum, isn't it? Oryu was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask, "What is it, Oryu?" Oh, okay. If this land is like a mother to us, this is business with the dam. It's like somebody threatening our mother's life, isn't it? Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryu, with a wide grin on her face, turns towards everybody and addressed them in a clarion voice. The minister behind the dam project is apparently rattled over the kidnapping of his grandson. That makes us even. That's absurd. Information on the kidnapping of the minister's Inugai's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even we didn't know much about the kidnapping incident. Exactly how did an antiquated household so far away from Tokyo come to know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Hinamazawa village. At some point, I had mentally filed the place away as unrelated to the incident at all. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind. How did the Onagafachi Defense Alliance know about that? Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence. I'm sorry. Please continue. Sure. Carrying on. The Minister of Construction's grandson was kidnapped? Oryu-san, is that true? The major of an incident was nowhere to be seen on the newspapers or TV. But in Hinamazawa, there was nothing strange about Oryu knowing something that the rest of the world didn't. Our pain is the pain of losing a mother. I don't think it's completely makes up for it, but the pain of losing a grandchild. He'll have to bear with that for a bit, don't you think? The last question wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was as if she was looking for a consensus. Still, land and a human child are different things. I don't mind hiding him here, but I want no harm to befall him. The child isn't to blame. Make sure to keep that in mind. Yeah, leave the baby alone. That means that the Onagafachi Defense Alliance was involved in the kidnapping? I can't say for certain. Why? Even though their leader Oryu is clearly giving the orders on the treatment of the kidnapped child? Lad, you see, this is what the Sonozaki family always does. Always does? What do you mean by that? Let's say there was a particular problem. One that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. If Oryu shows concern over that particular problem, hearing that somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Oryu's wish would be granted. However, neither Oryu or anybody else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands laid out on the table. And that means that somebody who was at the family council was the culprit? Or there's a possibility that there was never a culprit in the first place. Oryu herself in that room full of people didn't explicitly say that somebody pulled off the kidnapping. She was just giving her opinion. It was an odd and unpleasant, secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or weren't they? I couldn't see beyond the veil. If I were to guess, Yakuza dad might have had something to do with it. This much, however, I could say with certainty. The kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position somebody was in, even they wouldn't know about it. There was somebody who would know about it. They would be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself, so they might have a mole. Including the minister. There would be people affected by this incident, or the people that committed it. In any case, there was no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. Them knowing it at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow. That's as much as Odio said in regard to the kidnapping. Hopefully, that's what you wanted to find out was in there. After this, it's up to you. I don't know what kind of work you're doing. If you're going up against the Sanazaki family, you best prepare yourself. Oishi might be fearless, but even he's been attacked 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been wearing it lately, but at one point he was wearing a stab-proof vest while off duty. Oh, thanks for the warning. I'll be careful. You speak pretty well. Are you from Tokyo by any chance? Huh? What's your point? Investigators always come close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself. Good job. Could it be you're possibly somebody from the Metropolitan Police Safety Division? Or Public Safety Division? I couldn't remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it. Huh. No way. Haha. This wasn't accounted for in the money I got from the boss. But as somebody who played at the same table today, I'll give you this one as a freebie. After Oreo talked about the kidnapping, there was one other topic that came up. Another topic that Oreo brought up? And right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was the Metropolitan Public Safety Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those 2 things meant caused a chill to run up my spine. So you see, that's the order that in order to investigate the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, there's word that there will be an investigator from the public safety dispatched all the way from Tokyo. An investigator from public safety? They can't be reckless and make a big deal over the kidnapping. So it seems that the Metropolitan Police Safety Division is investigating this on their own. Ain't that grand? What is it? Rika, who had been drawing the entire time, was completely uninterested in the conversation up until now, looked at Audio with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety brought up. Did the Metropolitan Police come? Oh, so Rika-chama knows about the Metropolitan Police Department? That's very admirable. Who came? Is there anybody that knows what kind of guy from public safety came here? Mion's father raised his hand slightly. I hear that it's a nice young piece of fresh meat. Fresh meat? Is it nice and tender? Haha. Yeah, it is. Fresh meat. Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika-chan's question. Tender and tasty? Yeah, tender and tasty. Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? 'Cause meat is delicious. Or it can be. That was the question that apparently nobody had an answer to. Does Rika-chama know something about this man? I don't know. After her rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oreo's futon again. But when she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation. What shall we do about him, Mother? Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face, indicating that given the order, he could snuff the problem out at any time. He came all the way to Hinamazawa. Let him take it easy for a little while. So you're saying just to let him go around as he pleases? Mion's father asked in response. Odio smiled thinly as she responded. Leave him alone. But if he starts causing too much mischief, when that happens, don't hold back. I don't enjoy being taken lightly. Is what they talked about, apparently. It couldn't be that you were that fresh meat from the Metropolitan Police, are you? Yes. Couldn't be. Ha ha ha. A sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. They know. This family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today, when I was dressed up as a tourist, headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover was already blown. Pretty much. When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. Yeah, what you got, Firehawk? Oh no. Oh no. That was amazing. But also, yes, I'm sure that's exactly what it's called. Beautiful. That was beautiful. And just for that, you get a clap to clap. Why did it not do it? There it is. Person at the family council who expressed interest in the man dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. And then, the person who was waiting for me the whole time at the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at the bus shelter, did Rika-chan already know my true identity? Did she know that I was Akasaka dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department and come to meet me? Then, including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew, but just pretended not to? Oh, probably. They were probably trying to suss you out as much as you were sussing them out. Because Odu had given instructions not to interfere. Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. But there are people that good at acting, and there are people who are bad at hiding things. If there's that many people, then there should have been somebody among them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then even still, why did Audio tell them to leave me alone? Was it because they were careless about it? Because if they were careless about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka is a coward. I recall that strange voice which only could make me believe that Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then, how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought on by an unknown girl stuck with me more. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing I would eventually regret? That mysterious girl, Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There was no mistaking that the possibility of the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance was related to this case was there. And the fact that my cover was blown meant that I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ had already was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support. Is that everything? If you want, I can drop you off wherever you like. Sorry. In that case, the station where we originally met, please. A rural road where even a streetlight was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Was there something lurking there waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. Okay, I'll pick up with the new tips next time, and we'll start chapter... I think we're on chapter 4 now? So we'll save. Okay, end of chapter 3. Save. I gotta remember to do the tips next time. But yeah, my voice is getting tired, so this is where we will stop. Thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate everybody who stopped by. And I already have a raid target in mind because it's somebody's birthday. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. Yeah, pretty much. We are absolutely gonna harass Bell. Because it's his birthday. Looks like Fortnite is happening. So we're gonna say... and use whatever emotes you want. But that's gonna be the raid message. And I'm gonna send you off now. I hope everybody has a good rest of their day. Alright. I'll see y'all later. Bye.